Okay, so now I'll go through the test with you guys, and I will be giving you back your test. But I will need to connect your test back after today's lesson. So you could have a look of your test and those, and I will be connecting your test back. I'll return it back to you next week. Because for another class, we still got some of them haven't do the test yet. So as for the cash journals, one common mistake is when that is a credit transaction, you should not be recording that transaction to your cash journal. So many of you write the credit transaction to your cash journal as well. So that is one of the common mistakes. And another one is like for the detail when there's a like business owner contributing money to the business, the item you should call the capital contribution. Some of you just say like fund contribution, funding contribution, or capital. Not capital contribution is the term that I want. And also for the cash payment journal, the item name should call drawings. Some of you just say withdraw. Unfortunately, that would not be correct. Withdrawing is not correct. I need drawings. And then as for the second question, is it asks you to tell me how do you classify the classification column of the cash receipts journal. Some of you just mentioned about like that will help you to try to find out what's the most frequent transaction. I will give you half mark for that. You need to be able to mention that that will depend on what are they selling to the business, what are the services that they're providing to the business, what are the nature of the business. I only have one of you mentioning the term nature of business. So yeah, of course for nature of business, I give you full marks, and if you mention like depends on what they're selling, what they are providing to the customer, I will give you a mark as well. But for only mentioning like the most frequent transaction, that will always score you half mark. And then question C asks you to tell me the purpose of the sundries. So you have to say like that is for those that is infrequent transaction. Some of you mentioned like that is for the transaction just happen once. Unfortunately, that is incorrect because it doesn't mean that it only happen once. That could be happen twice or three times, but that is still a non-frequent one. And then I have most of you getting this one correct, calculating the GST refund or GST payable. And explain whether or not that is a preferable thing for the business, that is, do they prefer to have GST refund or GST payable? So from this question, I know who is listening to me in the lesson, who is paying attention to me, because I've mentioned this in the class and half of you didn't get it correct. So the business would prefer to have a GST payable because GST payable means that you are actually receiving more GST from a customer. So when will you be receiving GST? It's because you provide a sales, you provide a service. So that means higher sales, higher GST received, and a higher GST payable. So that's why the business will prefer to have a GST payable. And then as for the statement of receipts and payments, one common mistake is I don't want to see the word sundries appear on the statement of receipts and payments. Instead, you should be having the specific item name, capital contributions, or for example, the drawings, or for example, the equipment, the loan repayment. So you have to give me the exact item name instead of only mentioning sundries. And then some of you make a mistake by like formatting the statement, so put it into the wrong column or miss off something. Some of you put me a bracket for the cash deficit, but forgot to give me a bracket for the ending balance, or write a negative sign for the ending balance. So you lost half mark for that. And then for the difference between the cash surplus and cash deficit, you need to be able to mention like that is a negative change for the cash deficit and a negative bank balance by the end for the bank overdraft. Could you mute your laptop? Three examples for the transactions that do not include GST are more than 90% of you getting this correct. Excellent. A calculating of the GST. So this one you need to refer back to the equation that you have on your handout. Some of you make a mistake, so you should be able to do the calculation with those equations. And lastly, you are supposed to tell me the role of the customer, business, and the ATO on the GST system. So for the customer, you have to say like they pay 10% of tax for the goods and service. So some of you only mention, oh, they are paying GST only half month. So you need to be able to say out there paying GST for the goods and service. And as a business, you receive the GST on behalf of the ATO. So you need to mention on behalf of the ATO. Some of you say on behalf of customer. I don't know why is it, but like unfortunately no mark for that. On behalf of the government, and they have to pay it back. And as for the ATO, they will be receiving a GST from the from the business by the end of each quarter. So this is how the GST system works. And then I have some of you did pretty well. So first, second, and third in our class, and we have the highest improvement. The class average is 65%, not too bad. So hopefully that you can do a lot better for the next topic.
The hill's such a moment, but you know what if the hill's down you can also go. Were you looking at full mill?
Oh, school.
Well, I'm not surprised if I get lunch. I'm happy if I get 80.
I wanted 100 for like Swiss Hill.
Oh my god! Oh my
Boys, you promise don't bring anything to the
This is only single that ever does.
Next day, the promise question on the handout.
It's just synonym. It's synonym. Wait, no. Do I deserve half a mark? I feel like I deserve one. Okay, bro. Besides the fact that
Oh,
I'm
shit.
self-alone.